What is up, fam? Welcome back to another Car Talk podcast. I'm your host, Austin Kroos, and I couldn't be happier to be spending this time with you guys, and I'm just
in 1.5 miles, take a slight right turn onto Algonquin Road.
Now feeling as creative as I do feel because I just want to express to you guys how amazing the opportunity is in this world. And whether you're whatever you are, like, it really doesn't matter. No matter what you are, there's a special place for you in this world. And I think if you have big ambitions, like, the best way for you to express those ambitions to the world is just by creating content through the platforms that you feel comfortable.
At the next light, take a slight right turn.
And just utilizing time to your advantage, because most of us have 10, 20, 30, 40 years left in our careers. A lot of us even more than that. And with that being said, what's 5 to 10 years of building an audience? Like, the internet hasn't even been around for 30 years. So why wouldn't we try to adapt and utilize the technology for the greater good of impacting the world for the best? If that's your ambition, which I believe, if you're listening to this podcast, your ambition is along the lines of, like, wanting to become a better version of yourself, or wanting the world to become a better version.
At the light, use the right lane to take a slight right turn onto Algonquin Road.
Utilizing technology to your advantage to either get ahead or to position yourself in the future in a way that you're happy and comfortable and not worrying. Ultimately, like, the biggest fear in my life and the most uncomfortable feeling I've ever gotten in this journey of life is not having enough money to sustain my lifestyle, aka being broke, and just genuinely not doing what you love. And those two things are just so draining for a human soul. And the more you do it, the more comfortable it feels. And that's why it's like, it's like quicksand. Like, you jump in it and you just keep sinking, and then before you know it, like, you're just to the other side, like, you're gone. And I feel like that's how a lot of this world is right now, because we've been told we have to go to college. We've been told that our dreams are, not practical, and that they're, not realistic. So what we've done as a society is we've gone out and we've literally made lives and livings for ourselves that aren't bringing us joy and happiness, which is the ultimate currency that I believe is what a human should be living for. And there's a way that you do that, and it's by being self-aware, for one, because you have to know who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you happy. A lot of times, unless if you're a really big car guy, like driving a Cadillac or an Audi or a Audi, whatever, a fancy sports car, whatever, like, that kind of stuff isn't usually necessary and not normally practical, unless if you're, like, extremely passionate about cars and you're extremely passionate about that kind of stuff. But if that's the case, that's where I would say, like, now is the time for you to create content so that you can start building a community online via Twitter, Instagram, like, things that you're familiar with and that aren't too difficult to do. TikTok, stuff like that, so that you can build this community so that in 5 to 10 years you can leverage that community to do what you love to do. So, like, making YouTube videos on the cars that you like to drive, like, that kind of stuff is going to allow you to be able to enjoy your passion rather than work 50, 60 hours a week, doing whatever you do to make that money to pay off your monthly payments on your car, your home, all that. And that's what society's gotten into with, the nature of credit cards, with the nature of debt. And I just want to bring to the consciousness that you are a slave to you are a slave to the person that you owe money to. So if you owe the bank money, essentially you're going to have to do whatever you need to do to pay that bank money. And whether you realize it or not, if what you're doing 40 to 50 hours out of the week isn't bringing you happiness, then you are getting robbed. You are a slave. You are not living for your freedom. You are not living to create and to be the DNA that you have set out for. And I don't say that to belittle you or to make you feel ashamed or sad. I say that to inspire you to want to create and to know that you're no different than the people that you look up to on all of those platforms that I just talked about. You are no different. If you've got something in your heart that you think is worth sharing, I want you to share it. And if you're scared of sharing that because of whatever, kind of community you already have through, having social media accounts from high school and up or whatever, then I would encourage you to open up a new account. I would encourage you to genuinely share what is on your mind and what you believe is beautiful to create for the world to see. And I believe that if you do that, eventually your audience will get attracted to you with the nature of the interweb and the nature of the soon-to-be blockchain technology. This type of technology that we're living through has not been seen before. And our ancestors would be really, really, really sad if we decided to not take it upon ourselves to educate ourselves on this type of technology and to utilize it for our own benefit and to greater our consciousness, but also our impact on the world. I just want everybody to truly impact the world in their own unique way to make this world a better place. And the way that I believe you do that is by chasing your dream and by leaning into all of your passions. And you got to be practical. You can't, you have to own a car that's going to be able to get you from point A to point B. You can't, walk everywhere. But if you can live like a minimalist, if you know what makes you happy and those things aren't included as far as owning a home and paying a fat rent, if you can sacrifice some things in the micro for the macro, I just believe that's where it's at. I genuinely believe that. And for example, I'll explain my testimony to this and why I'm able to speak to this is because I just know for a fact that I'm going to have, how do I say this? I just know for a fact that I love creating so much, for example. So I was in 2017, like I mentioned in my first podcast, I was watching Logan Paul, I was watching Nash Greer, I was watching, all of Tasia Alexis, I was watching all of these people just blow through fame and just truly rise above everybody on social media. And I just thought to myself, what's the difference between them and myself? And I came to the conclusion that the only difference between them and myself is that they're creating and I'm not. And the only reason why I'm not creating is because I'm worried about what everybody else is going to think of me creating. And when I realized, and I'm thankful to Gary Vee, for his content, because he's what's truly been able to penetrate through to me. But what I learned was just 4 years ago, I needed to start creating one way or another. I knew I didn't know how to make YouTube videos. I knew I didn't even know how to make Instagram and social media posts, but I knew I just needed to start. And that's exactly what I did. And you can look back, on my first 100 Instagram posts and see how awful my posts were. And you can see that I was a rookie, same thing with my tweets, same thing with my LinkedIn posts, same thing with my YouTube, my YouTube videos. All of those things have taken a lot of time to get better at. And when I first started, I was awful, so awful that I had to open up a new Instagram account so that I didn't feel, the pressure from everybody else that already was following me that didn't want to see it. And just it was just too much for me and my ego at the time. And I had to change. I really did. And so I believe I changed for the best, and I believe it's due to the simple fact that I really I sacrificed a lot of things in the micro. You know, at 18 years old, of course I wanted to go out and get my own place. You know what I mean? But I just knew that wasn't practical. Like, if I had to do that, I needed to find a better job and work 60 hours a week, and I was already working 40 to 50 hours a week, you know, and like making decent money too, but it just didn't register with my dream, you know. Like, so what did I do? I lived with my dad, and unfortunately living with my dad wasn't the best creative environment for myself, and wasn't, you know, the most accepting environment. But I'm just like eternally grateful for the fact that he allowed me to stay there for as long as he did, and you know, all that. And he'd still, you know, if I'm 23 years old, I can move back in. Like, that's how my dad is. But I'm thankful that I'm 23 now, and right during COVID, I actually, and this is a whole nother podcast story, but I actually got the opportunity to move in with my girlfriend's family, and ever since then, that's when I've truly gotten to a whole different place in my creative career. I feel like it was around the
Stay in the right 2 lanes.
Me actually creating for over a year, so it was around the time that I was getting a little bit better and more confident, more efficient creating. And over the past 2 years since then, it's just been non-stop improving and getting closer and closer to my dreams, and just falling more and more in love with the process of it. And I'm just ecstatic about life. And as you guys know from last podcast, like, VCon is the reason that this whole podcast even got sparked up, because I mean, I know this podcast has been in my heart for a long time. But I just, again, it goes back to not having the humility to start it, and I never did, and I thought I needed much more than I have. And in all reality, I figure, you know, if this gains traction, then I can invest into my podcast, and, you know, maybe get an office space or studio space, and, you know, get a little area that I feel creative. But right now, I love my car. Like, the driving around is perfect for me, and, you know, I'm keeping my bills low. I don't have, you know, a huge rent payment or anything like that. Like, I'm living within my means, and I'm able to create. And as an artist, like, that is the most beautiful, amazing, most precious thing that I could ever ask for. And now I just feel like it's my duty and my opportunity and my job to spread that happiness to others. And I can only hope that this podcast is doing exactly that for you. And I just want every single one of you listening to this to feel inspired and to feel better than when you first clicked on this podcast. And if I'm doing that, that's everything for me. And I love you guys, and I appreciate the time. And I just hope that you go out today and chase your dreams, because no one else is going to chase them for you. And you're the man for the job. You're the woman for the job. You're the individual for the job. And I believe in you. And if I can do it, I know for a fact you can do it. And I encourage you to go full speed, fam. But with that being said, I just hope you stay curious and stay kind, because that's the way that we should all be. And it's the way that I want to see the world become. So I love you all, and if you guys can
stay in the middle 2 lanes
today, please do, because that is our duty. All right, peace out, guys.